Obviously, you've not attended a Thompson dialogue before. I get to do very little talking. So what we do, for those who are not familiar, what we do is we organize these dialogues on a regular basis or fairly regular basis. Particularly, there's a topical issue. We did one for education, we did one for the budget, we did one for COE, and so on and so forth, when it's topical. And we organized this particular dialogue when the minimum sum was recently increased to 155,000. If you read the newspapers and the blogs and so on, many people appear to have received that news with some surprise. Although it was something which was announced way back in 2003, there was a formula that was in place and so on and so forth. So there was a sense amongst us that maybe we should do a CPF dialogue to do two things. Number one, to clarify any issues people may have about CPF. But more importantly, to talk about how we can improve the system together. What feedback we may have, what difficulties we may have, how we can tweak it. And it's quite opportune because the Ministry of Manpower has announced that they are actually going to review the CPF system and aspects of it. So just like the COE one, where they announced, MOT announced they will review it, what we thought we'd do is that you have a dialogue, get your feedback, put together a paper which we will publish to everyone, and send it to the relevant ministry. We did that for COE, for Ministry of Transport. We intend to do that today and submit your feedback to the Ministry of Manpower. So I've got note takers in the room who will be taking down things that you say and so on. After we announced and after we organized this dialogue, then a few days later someone said something about CPF and apparently the whole world then stopped spinning. And it took, this particular issue took a different turn. So contrary to what some people say, this dialogue wasn't organized because it was a hot topic. This dialogue was organized in relation to the increase of minimum sum, and what happened subsequently was a bit unfortunate. So it's not meant to politicize, and this is not supposed to be a political dialogue. This is meant to be talking about how we can improve lives together as Singaporeans. So I hope everyone takes that in the right spirit. Now, the dialogue will be organized, as with other dialogues, we're not doing anything differently this time. As with other dialogues, we're going to do it in 3 segments. One, we'll have someone to come up, and I'll introduce her in a minute, to talk about the CPF system, as is Ms. Yip Chiu Fong. She's a Master Financial Consultant. She's here representing IFPAS, the Institute of Financial
Insurance and Financial
Association
of Singapore.
Association of Singapore. I'm sorry, I can never get acronyms right. So she's from IFPAS. She's here. She'll be opening up the session and she'll talk about CPF as it is. Okay? She's not here to comment about what it should be or what it isn't. She's just telling you about what it is as it is. And insofar as you have any questions about CPF as it is, feel free to ask us some questions. And I think that's important because one of the things we found when we talk to people is that different people have different ideas about what CPF as it is today is. So I think it's important that we all start our discussions on a common platform so that there are no misunderstandings. What we also will do is that I think the Business Times did a very nice chart of CPF monies and how it's invested and how many % you get on what account and so on. I know it's a bit difficult to follow, but the Business Times did a very, I think, a very helpful chart. And we'll be distributing those. We are distributing those to everyone so that when you go in for your discussions, again, you have a common platform to work off. All these are just facts. No one is making, again, no one's saying anything whether it's good or bad, it's just as it is. After we have the talk, what we do, what we always do, which is to break up into groups. We break up into groups to discuss different issues. Now, we found in previous dialogues that if there are no fixed topics, then people just, the discussions will not go anywhere. We wanted to talk about certain concrete issues, and so we worked out a list of questions. I'm not here to restrict you from saying things, but we thought we'd just come up with some questions, and you'll find that when you go through the questions that it will probably cover what you want to talk about anyway. But if we have it in a series of questions, then at least our minds will be focused. And after you've had your time to discuss, and we'll give you about an hour to discuss amongst yourselves, we'll come back and the different groups will then make presentations. That we found also helpful because if you have ideas and you have proposals, then it's good to test it in a group of 10 or 15 people. And if you cannot get consensus amongst 15 people, you're not going to get consensus amongst 103 people, and much less 3.5 million people. So test your ideas, and within the same group, if you can come up with a consensus of an idea or proposal or comment, then your group leader, and you can appoint whoever you want, will then come up and present it to the group, and we have questions and so on. And so the third segment of our dialogue, of our forum, will be basically the different groups presenting. And whoever presents, just know that, we usually open it to the floor and the presenter can be asked any question on his proposal, his idea, or his comment, and so on. And that's it, and then we'll do a roundup, and that's it. So, as I said, the whole session is not, contrary to popular belief, it's not for me to tell you things. It's really for me to listen to you and to find out what you want and find out what the issues are, so that we can put our paper together and send it to the ministry for their consideration when they actually review the system. Okay? So after Ms. Yip does her talk, I will come back and I'll just give you some ground rules so that we can do it in a constructive and timely manner, and then we have a good talk. All right? Okay, please welcome Ms. Yip. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, so we're just going to talk about CPF as it is today. I believe most of you would have some basic information. This probably will be a refresher, and maybe in case there are certain things that you are not aware of, maybe, and I may not have covered during this talk, do feel free to ask me some questions after the session. All right, so just give me a minute. Okay, so this is how it works at this point in time. If you are working for somebody, so there's your share, and your company will also give a share into the CPF account. And once it goes into the CPF system, it automatically goes into 3 ways. So the first goes into your ordinary account, which earns you the basic 2.5% interest. You can use this for, well, the primary purpose, the key intention for this accounts are all for retirement purposes. But a CPF board have actually opened the use for ordinary account for housing, education. You can also use these funds in the ordinary account to invest or to purchase certain forms of insurance as well. And we have the special account, which earns us 4%. So this, again, is primarily for retirement. At the same time, it's not all locked in. You can use some for investment, which I will go into a little bit later. And the last account is more for our medical usage. So in the event, like we go hospital, we need to stay in the hospital, we need to take a major operation or something like that. So the money in the MediSave account is meant for such purposes. And you can also use the MediSave account to buy some approved insurance to cover the hospitalization and the surgery bills. So at the same time, what we see down here are the standard interest rates for the CPF board as it is right now. So some years back, there's actually an additional interest of 1% that's paid onto the first 60,000 in the ordinary special account, as well as the MediSave account, and this is how it works. Maybe I'll talk from here, it's easier. Just give me a minute. Okay, so this is actually from the CPF website, as you can see down here. The first 60,000 60,000, so we will calculate based on like how much you have in your ordinary account, how much you have in your special account, and how much you have in your MediSave account. If your special account and MediSave account add together is 40,000 and below, so this 40,000 will get you additional 1% interest. So instead of 4%, you get 5%. And for your ordinary account, so long as it's below 20,000, whatever you have in your ordinary account will earn you 3.5% instead of 2.5%. So you add up together, if let's say ordinary account plus MediSave plus special account is less than 60,000, you will enjoy this additional 1% interest in your CPF. Okay? So how can we earn more interest? So you can see there's a difference in terms of the interest rate, right? Your special account definitely gives you more interest. So actually one of my clients did ask me, well, then I might as well transfer all my money to the from the ordinary account to the special account. Yes, actually you can do that. But remember how, you transfer over to special account already, you cannot go back to ordinary account. So if let's say you intend to buy a house, or you intend to use your ordinary account to fund your children's education or something like that, cannot transfer back. You have to start accumulating from scratch after you done the transfer.
But over that, you don't need to have a account more, transfer all.
We will talk about that a little bit later for the people who are of a certain age. Okay, so besides transferring from the ordinary account to the special account, what else can we do to make our money in our CPF account work harder for us? You can actually also invest your CPF account. For the ordinary account, so long as you have 20,000 in your account, right, anything more than that you can start investing already. So say you've got 25,000 in your ordinary account, you can invest the $5,000. So where can you invest this money into? So let's say the $5,000 I have in my CPF account, I can choose any of these like fixed deposits. Basically, safer kind of instruments because they open up any funds above 20,000 to be investable. So even if you want to invest in bonds, it has to be safer kind of bonds like statutory bonds or the bonds which are guaranteed by the Singapore government. You want to invest in unit trust also can, but you have to be aware that there will be risk in investing. So if you want to go for higher risk one, maybe you cannot sleep at night not thinking, oh no, the value of my investment may drop, you know. So these are the choices that you have. And for the more adventurous one, you really want to earn a lot more money. You want to invest in stocks and shares, can. 35% of the amount above the 20,000. So let's say I got $10,000 above 20,000. So 3,500 I can invest in stocks and shares, property funds, or even corporate bonds. So that is, you take your own risk. And some people asked before, hey, I want to invest in gold. Can also, you can invest up to 10% of your CPF funds into gold. So it doesn't have to be physical gold, you know, that you go to the market and buy gold. No, you don't do that. You can go to the banks, you can buy gold ETF, or even gold deposits. Let's say, for example, certain banks, they offer that. Okay, special account, we can also invest, but because we are enjoying such a high interest in our special account, the threshold for investment will be higher. So you must have at least 40,000 in your special account before you can invest the money. So say I got 50,000 in my CPF account, then I can invest 10,000 above that. So what are the things that we can invest in? Well, only restricted to the safer ones like your fixed deposits, government bonds, unit trust. Even unit trust, the higher risk unit trusts are not available. And basically at the end of the day, what we want to do is to ensure that if you choose to take your money out from the CPF, you should earn better than the CPF because you're taking higher risk. But understand there will be risk involved in investing. So let's take a look at how well the investors has been doing. We take a look at, let's say, the year ended 2011 September. Because the scheme for investment has been around for some time, what we can see here is that there are a group of people who are doing better than what the CPF 2.5% is giving us. But that is only 17%. The other around 36% of the people who have taken the money out to invest, people like myself, we are probably almost matching the CPF 2.5. This is the ordinary account figures. And quite a big portion, about 45% of people who have chosen to take the money out to invest is not doing as well as the 2.5. Actually, quite a lot are actually making losses. So if you want to take your money out to invest, yes, you can, but be aware there will be risk involved in investing. So another question that one of my clients asked me, wow, I can earn so much money in the CPF accounts, like compared to what they are enjoying in their bank accounts right now. So they asked me, well, then maybe I can put more money into the CPF accounts. Well, there is actually a contribution ceiling. You cannot put too much money into your CPF account, even if you really want to. So basically, there's a calculation down there. Every month is not more than 5,000. So even if you earn $10,000 every month, your CPF contribution is only calculated based on 5,000 every month. And even if the company give you 24, maybe 12 months is your ordinary pay, and the company give you additional 12-month bonus, no lah, not the whole 12-month bonus is calculated into your CPF contribution as well. And the additional 5 months on top of your monthly 12-month salary. Okay? So then at the same time, there is also a cap as to how much can sit into your MediSave account. So once your MediSave account hit 45,500, the additional amount will actually be transferred into your special account. So again, the objective is to help you to accumulate more money for your retirement, eventually when it's to come. Okay, so this is just for information, how much is actually going into your CPF based on your monthly income. So it's tiered up, so when we are younger, we have more capacity to earn the money, so more money should be going to our CPF account for the accumulation. Then as we grow older, we may have competing needs, so we will see that the contribution rate does come down. You can find this information in the CPF websites as well. And this year in the budget, there was a piece of good news that's being announced. Next year, starting from 1st of January onwards, there will be increment in the contribution rates as well. And all the additional percentages is actually going straight to the ordinary account. I think one of the concerns is probably, housing prices are going up. So one of the key reasons for this is to ensure that, we do have sufficient funds if we want to use it for housing purposes. Okay, so far so good. So one of the questions just now the gentleman asked is that, okay, when we grow older, what happens? So let's talk about the CPF minimum sum, which is one of the triggers for this particular forum down here. So once we hit 55, what happens is that, okay, we are aware that we must have this minimum sum in our CPF account. So how is it being calculated? Actually, we take first from the special account, and then if it doesn't match up to the minimum sum, which this year is 155,000, then the balance will see how much we have in our ordinary account. So if let's say we meet the minimum sum of 155,000, when the two accounts are added together, it will go into this account called the retirement account. And the retirement account straight away earns 4% per annum. And if you have excess money over this minimum sum, actually you can draw out the money as cash as well. So it's not like, wow, everything is locked up, you cannot touch. At 55, you have more than your minimum sum, you can actually draw out the excess. And then the next question is, what if I don't have the minimum sum of 155,000 when I add up the two accounts together? So not to worry, you will not be asked to top it up. Okay, so we'll see how much balance you have in the two accounts added together, the special account and the ordinary account. And at the same time, most of us will have used our CPF to buy our houses, like our HDB around here. Then we can actually pledge up to 50% of the minimum sum. So maybe in this case, let's say if you have 80,000 in your ordinary account and special account add up together, then the balance 75,000 can come from the value of your property being pledged to meet the balance of the minimum sum. So once you have that add up together, you meet the minimum sum, then okay, yes, you meet the criteria already. So what happens to the retirement account is sitting there, not just to earn interest. At the drawdown age, which at this point in time will be 65, it will translate into money for you. The old scheme is the minimum sum scheme, where you just draw out the balance in your retirement account over 20 years. Then after 20 years, okay, no, that's it. it's on your own. So now that's why CPF actually introduced a new scheme, which is the CPF Life Scheme, where you will start receiving an income every month until we say bye-bye to the world. And if we say bye-bye to the world earlier than a certain age, right, our families still get to enjoy the balance of their money in our CPF accounts as well. So, and the good news is that you don't have to hit the full 155,000 minimum sum to enjoy the CPF Life Scheme. So long as you have 40,000 in your retirement account when you're 55, or when you hit the drawdown age, you have 60,000 in your account, you can still join in the CPF Life Scheme. So this is just a rough calculation. Say if I'm 55 this year and I have 155,000 in my account, this is how much I will be able to enjoy in terms of a monthly income from my CPF Life. So it's around 1,000 to 1,200 every month if I choose not to leave too much behind for my family. There's two schemes. One is that, okay, I take out more money when I'm retiring. Then the other scheme is that I leave more money behind for my loved ones if I should say bye-bye to the world earlier. You can choose between the two. But my question to you is that, maybe now if I hit 55 and I get 1,000 to 1,200 every month, maybe it's enough. But for those of us who are not 55 years, maybe we are 10, 20 years more to go, then the question is that going to be enough when the time comes? Because maybe last time, right, we can find 50 cents coffee very easily. Now you want to find 60 cents coffee, maybe you have to travel very far to find one. So that's the power of inflation. Prices of things will naturally go up, even if you don't do anything about it. Okay, so that's food for thought, whether is it enough or not, whether you need to do something additional on top of that. So the last account that I'm just going to touch on today is the MediSave account. Basically, this is for our medical needs. So let's say if I go to the hospital, I need to stay in the hospital for a few days, I don't have any insurance at all, at least I can draw this money to pay for my hospital bill. Or let's say if my father, he belongs to the era when he don't have any medical insurance at all, he go to the hospital, he stay for 1 week, need to have operation and all those things. Where are we going to come out the 10,000-20,000 from? I can use my MediSave account for him as well. Same thing for my husband and children as well. So it's not just for me, but for my immediate family as well. But the good news is that once we have this MediSave account, we automatically have an insurance called the MediShield. This is sufficient for us to go to the government hospital, the subsidized wards, like the B2 and the C class. So most of the time, if let's say we require pretty ordinary kind of hospitalization or operation, this is usually enough to cover for the bulk of the hospitalization bill. But of course, there's certain co-payment that we need to make. So that's why the government actually opened up the private insurance to come in to provide what we call the private medical insurance scheme, so you can top up the MediShield. So some people maybe feel that, if I'm seriously ill, I want to stay in comfort. I don't want to squeeze with other people. I want aircon. So they have the choice to top up their own medical insurance so that when they go to, say, private hospital or even the A-class ward in the hospital, their hospitalization bill can be fully covered. So they have an option there. And also at the same time, as we grow older, we are also concerned that if we have a major fall, what's going to happen? We may have difficulty walking, we may have difficulty dressing and bathing ourselves. Then maybe we need to hire somebody to help us for a period of time. This is where the last insurance called the Elder Shield scheme comes in handy. This is what we call a long-term care insurance. In the event that, say, there's like 6 daily activities that we're supposed to do ourselves, if out of the 3 we cannot do, this is where this scheme comes in. It gives you a monthly dollar for up to 3 years, so that you can actually maybe hire some help to help you to do the daily things while you recover. Okay, so this is the last thing about medical insurance. So first thing, personally, when I do planning for my clients, this is one of the most important factors because hospitalization and surgery is unpredictable. When it will happen, we don't know. How much is it going to cost? We also don't know. So it's important to at least get some basic medical insurance. So when you look at your CPF statement, keep a watch out. Am I currently covered under any insurance at all? If yes, what coverage is it? Is it the MediShield? So if it's the MediShield, then the next question to ask yourself is, are you okay with going to subsidized ward? Are you okay with coming out some out of pocket yourself because there's some co-payment? If you're okay with that, okay, then stay put. You don't need to do anything about it. If let's say you feel that maybe I want to have a choice besides subsidized ward, maybe in case I want to choose doctor, I want to go to private hospital, then you may want to go and check out some of the private medical insurance schemes. And then when you go to the private medical insurance scheme, then you have to ask yourself again, are you okay with making some co-payment of, let's say, up to 10% of the hospitalization bill? If you're okay with that, then you just get your basic top-up using your MediSave account. But if you feel that, hey, don't know that the 10% can be unpredictable. If the bill is 10,000, never mind, 10% is only 1,000, it's okay. But if the bill is 100,000, 10% is 10,000, quite a lot of money still, right? So there's actually additional riders you can top up to ensure your hospitalization bill is being covered as well. So, then there are some people who, when the MediShield first came out, right, maybe because they're not aware what is it and they don't want, hey, how you take money from my MediSave account? I don't want. So they unknowingly actually pop up from the MediShield scheme. So I do have some clients who don't have any MediShield insurance at all. So at this point in time, then the next question to ask yourself is that if you don't have any MediShield, then this question, should I be covered? I think the answer is most likely yes now. Then the next question to ask is that, can I still be covered? So if you feel that, okay, I'm still in good health, I can still be covered, then go and check out. Maybe you can just opt back into the MediShield scheme, or you can go to the private medical insurance scheme. So that's the end of my talk, some basic information about how CPF works. So thank you very much. Sure.
I was born in 1938. What you showed just now was very nice and very presentable. And I think the way you speak is so easy. Talking about CPF, talking about taking your money. I can't speak. I was born in 1938. And that makes me 76 next week.
Oh,
On the 19th.
happy birthday in advance.
No. All I think of is death. All I think of is death. Before we talk about my CPF, I've got some very sad issue that I'm going to bring up with Hri Kumar. My father and mother were evicted from Bukit Brown after living there for 70 over years. And because of the eviction, and because of the cremation, the exhumation, and the resettling of them, it made me suffer lapses of memory. I suffered lapses of memory. I forget my dates. I forget my medical dates. I forget and the most important thing of all things, I forgot to pay my property tax. And you know what happened? I was given a letter. I was fined. I was given a letter. Again, I forgot. And I admitted that I was wrong. It was very wrong to be in that state of mind. And the next thing was, I received a letter from that Development Bank of Singapore. Shame on the controller of property tax. Shame on TPS for resorting to becoming big police. I'm
sorry.
No, you listen to me.
We are talking about
yes,
CPF.
we are talking about CPF. I'm coming back to that CPF. I was given this letter telling me that they hacked into my personal POSB book, scoured my amounts, and took away the money from my bank to give to the property tax. Do you think it is ethical? Do you think it's ethical? Do you think it is right? Right now, I'm very sad. Okay, I was born in the year 1938, and my friends, my Malay friends, told me that they retired. When they retired, they got the ordinary account as well as the RA account. So they told me, why don't you go and get yours? In fact, a friend of mine friend of mine, I've always advocated that I love Lee Kuan Yew very much, I love the PAP very much. Yes, we cut it.
Let's cut all this stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
so what happened was, I went to the CPF board to ask for my account. And you know what they said? You can take your ordinary account. You can take your ordinary account. I retired in 1998. Okay? I retired, I did 2 years of associate teacher until 2000. And when I retired in 2000, I told myself, since I've got my food, I don't need it. Money put in the government is the safest. And I think it was wrong. It was wrong. When I went to get my money, when I went to CPF to get my money, when I went to CPF to ask for my money, they told me that you can take you can take your ordinary account, but when it comes to RA, after 10 years, you can only get 1 month repayment. I am free from all these rules and regulations. These concern only 1958 and downwards. Those people born before 1958 should get all the money back. Would I get mine? Can I get mine?
Okay, that's a good question. Yes, that's the reason why we're here to address
Yes,
it. Yeah.
I'm begging Mr. Hri Kumar. I voted him. I'm a spinster. Okay, I'm a spinster. I have no children of my own. So I'm asking Mr. Hri Kumar to help the godmother. I want my money back. How do I do it?
Yes, okay, that's a very good question that we want to have in the discussion here. That's the reason why we want to break it up and actually have all residents add their views and their concerns.
I think the rest don't concern me. The rest don't concern me. I'm not concerned over how many percentages you get, how many percent. What I want is my money back, and I want to arrange for my funeral, and I want to arrange for my rights, and I want to arrange for a nice settlement.
Excellent.
Can I have it? That's all I want. Give me back my money. CPF, give me back my money, and make it as soon as possible. Because 76, I won't be able to live. I've got to make arrangements with God to make me live 50 years to get my RA back. So, will you please?
Yes.
Please.
Come.
No. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do that. Yes, I know. That's the reason why I picked this opportunity to speak to you, because I'll never be able to speak anymore.
Fine.
Give me anybody from CPF board. Is there anyone from CPF board? You're talking about CPF and you don't have any representative? So Mr. Hri Kumar, please, help me get my money back. And I'm going off now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no
Thank you very
problem.
much.
Okay, thank you. Guys, you have a lot of valid questions, but please respect the time limit, because we need everyone to actually express their views, but then we also need to do it in a constructive way, yeah? So, okay.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm a retiree. I'm a retiree, and I just heard that in order to top up the Medicare, CPF ordinary account, every month I have to put 5,000. Am I right to say that?
No.
You said 5,000 every month.
Oh, no. It's 5,000. Okay, sorry, maybe I wasn't very clear about that. It's 5,000, then
Percentage.
times this percentage. So 5,000, let's say we are looking at age 6.
I'm about 65.
Okay, so 5,000 times
6.5.
11.5, because you can do the employer plus employer together. So it's 5,000 times 11.5%.
And every month or a year?
Every month,
Every
5,000.
month, 5,000.
Yeah,
But that's not one. That's not. I went to CPF and I wanted. They call that self-contribution.
Yes, voluntary.
Self-contribution. A few years ago was 26,900. So now they increased to 35,000 a year.
Yeah, that is based on the...
Yes. To be divided by the 3 sections.
That's right.
And say, for example, if my medicine hit the 40%, then it will go off to ordinary account. Am I right to say
Special
that?
account.
No, special account they don't allow because special account
She withdraw.
I cannot get back.
Oh, as a retiree, yes, it goes
So
into the
only
ordinary account.
medicine, if my medicine hit 40%, and then all the, say, 26,000 line, but they increase over the year, all the ordinary account. Okay? And if my medicine, retirement account, I have said, for example, 3,000, 30,000. Okay? I'm now getting my retirement account from the UOB Bank. That was recommended years ago by Medisave, okay? And then the story bank. But 30,000, they only allow me to give me 100 every month. 100 every month, okay? You said because I'm getting from UOB, because of the annuity, okay? Then the story ends. My question to CPF board was, if I have 30,000 in my current retirement account, I'm getting 1,200 every year. Okay, 1,200 every year for just interest. And if you give me 100 every month, then I don't touch my money at all. Can you increase the 100 to 200 or 300? He said, no, you cannot. You only can take 100. So I said, it's ridiculous. If I have interest rate of 1,200 every year, then you only give me 100, and that is 1,200. So where my 30,000 going to? My question is, can you answer me? It is very simple calculation, okay?
We'll take that as a feedback, but I would like to also stress that we need to move on to the next part of the program, and that's actually for us to break up into group discussion so that you can add your views in a smaller group, yeah? And after that, you can actually have the chance to come up here and present your views based on the format that Hri is actually highlighted. Yeah. So, Hri?
Okay, thanks a lot for the presentation. I appreciate it. There's a lot of facts to take on board. Although from the questions, I suspect there may not be a complete understanding still, but that's okay. We still have time, and through your group discussions and through the larger discussion later, if you still have anything you want to ask about your personal account, I think there's a couple of people still around and will address any personal issues you may have. So what we want to do now is hopefully with that, as I said, a common platform as to how CPF works today, we can now talk about issues going forward, which is really what this forum is about. So as I said, we'll break it up into smaller groups. Now, we just want to impose some understanding. Rules is a bad term, but just some understanding. And I hope we can abide by this. Number one, be respectful at all times. Okay, I think we've always had that for Thomson Dialogues, and I hope that doesn't change today. We don't personally attack. We don't insist that other people have bad motives. I think we're all here, regardless of political or non-political affiliations, we're all here to talk about something that concerns all of us, which is CPF. All of us are concerned about it, and we all want it to work better for us, right? There's no one in this room that wants it to work better for him, but not to work better for someone else, right? We all want it to work better for us. So let's not make it personal, because it doesn't make sense. We all want it to work better for us. Number two, because of the time, and that's why we wanted smaller groups, we want everyone to have a chance to talk. We don't want, I know there are some people who are just burning and bursting to say something. You can, but try not to take so much time, because other people want to speak as well. Number three, and this is important, and we always insist on this for all Thomson Dialogues, no motherhood statements. So what I mean by that is that if you have a proposal to make, then make the proposal, but your proposal cannot be wonderful life for everyone, please, right? Because it doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't really advance your dialogue. So no motherhood statement. Let's have some details. What do you talk? When you say more, what do you mean by more? 4%, 5%, what? When you say less, what do you mean? When you say longer, what do you mean? Right? Don't say more for life, more. It doesn't help the discussion at all. So let's try and avoid motherhood statements. Number 4, and I think this is also important, if you have a proposal to make, I think this is why we call it an honest conversation. You should also highlight the good things of your proposal, but if you know that your proposal has some downsides, you should highlight those as well. You shouldn't be afraid of talking about pros and cons because, and this is important, there is no perfect plan in this world. If there's a perfect plan, every country will be doing it. But as you know that there's no perfect plan in the world, whenever you have a plan, there will be some downsides, there will be some risks somewhere, some downsides somewhere. And in any plan, one group of people may well do better than another group of people. It's bound to happen. No one is ever going to be treated the same in any plan, right? So there will be downsides to any proposal. So let's be honest and recognize the downside and talk about it. Just as there are downsides with our current CPF system, that's not a problem because there is no perfect plan. And number 5, if you can, and I hope we can do this, then if you have a proposal where you want any particular group of people to take on more, to get more, then I think we have to recognize that when we want one group to have more, we also have to recognize that one group will get less. So I think let's be honest about it. But that's not wrong. There are no wrong answers there. If you think that the older generation should get more, that's fine. That's a valid view to take. But you also have to address and identify who do you think should sacrifice so that others will get more. Because otherwise, everyone will just get more, then everyone gets more, everyone walks away happy. But it's not unrealistic. It's not realistic. And so we need to talk about that as well. And this is important because when we talk about CPF, there is a tendency to talk about the people in government. Right? The government should pay me more, the government should do this, the government should do that. But you know, the government is not a person. The government is not a person. And I said this in Parliament, what the government really does is the government comes up with a framework and the government allocates risks between different people. If you want to pay more to the older generation, then the younger generation bears more responsibility. So it's just allocating risks. So it is not right to talk about transferring risks between government and people because what you're doing is just transferring risks between different groups of people. Right? So the question is, as I said, we will frame the discussion by way of broad questions. It's not meant to limit you on what you want to talk about, but I think these are good questions to try and focus the discussion so we get somewhere. And the first question, which is something which I think we all need to address because it's convenient not to deal with difficult questions. But I think in a forum like this where we are to talk about how to improve the system, we need to talk about difficult questions as well. And so the first question I hope you will ask yourself is what do we do between us as Singaporeans, what do we expect of ourselves? So if a Singaporean runs out of retirement funds, and that's a common phrase now, right? I'm 55 or I'm 65, just give me my money, this is my money, why do you care what I do with it? That's a perfectly valid point. But let's deal with the next question. If you give someone money and he runs out of it, how as Singaporeans do we want to resolve that issue? It's commonly said that, you know, we shouldn't put Singaporeans down, they know what to do with their money, they're all not going to go run to the casinos and gamble it away. We're not saying that. We're not saying that at all. But people lose money for different reasons. Some people gamble it away, maybe a minority. Some people just make bad investments. Some people just have bad luck. You know, different people are put in different circumstances. And ultimately, if everyone wants to manage their monies, which is a perfectly legitimate argument, but if everyone wants to manage their monies, fine. But there will be a group of people, and a fairly sizable group of people, who will run out of funds. And they still need to live, and as a nation, we still need to make sure no one suffers. And I think as a nation, we have done quite well. Almost everyone has a roof under their heads. No one goes hungry in this country. We do better than most. We're not perfect, but we do better than most. But there's a reason why that happens, because there's a particular system in place that allows that to happen. But if we want to change the system, then everyone takes their own money and decides what they want to do with it. As I said, perfectly legitimate. But we need to ask ourselves, what do we do with them, that group who may have bad luck and who may run out of money? Different people have told me different things. Some people say, well, let them beg. It's okay, that's their problem, right? Yeah. That's their choice. But are we as a people prepared to go down that road? If we're not, then what do we do? So let's talk about it. Again, no wrong answers. Number two, which is really again why this talk was organized. Should there be a minimum sum? And as you know, it's related to question 1. Because your answer to question 1 will determine your answer to question 2. Which is there a minimum sum? And if you think there is, because there should be some co-responsibility between government and people, then how should it be calculated? Are we setting it too high today? Are we setting it too low today? Interesting point about Lucy just now who said, oh no, I only get $100 a month, but that's because your sum there is very low. Yeah, no, but that's the thing. So if we had kept minimum sum say at 80,000, which is what it was, I think in 2003, then of course you can do that, but your payouts then will be very low. So there's a trade-off somewhere. But is it too high? Is it too low? I don't know. Let's talk about that. Number 3, and finally, having now understood what the CPF is as is, what changes would you like? And I think this is where I think many people will have their proposals, which is fine. But as I said, when you give your proposals, just let's be honest and let's talk about the upside and downsides. Let's talk about who benefits more from your proposal, who benefits less from your proposal. Because definitely any change you make will affect different people different ways. And let's be honest about that. And as I said, underlying all these questions will be the issue of how risks should be shared among Singaporeans, right? Old and young, current, future generations, and so on and so forth. So these are important questions and we should talk about it. But I think it's not useful to have a discussion if we do it on a very unrealistic framework, which is let's just let everyone do what they want and never mind what the consequences are. Then it doesn't become a realistic or constructive conversation. Let's talk about real issues. And if the consensus is that, yeah, let people take their money, then that's the consensus. And that's what's going to appear in my report when we send it to everyone. Okay, that's the consensus. So what? And I don't know, I was trying to think of an analogy of CPF and not a perfect analogy, but what I thought was is driving. If you are a driver, why should there be speed limits on the roads? If I'm a driver and I'm safe and I'm a responsible driver, the government shouldn't tell me how fast I can drive. I can take care of myself. Why should there be speed limits? Why should there be cameras? Why should there be fines if I'm responsible? But sometimes, you know, the rules are there, so it's not just to protect you, but to protect other people as well. And that's what it's all about. It's not just about protecting you, but protecting everyone else as well. What is the social contract we have? Which is if I don't speed, I make sure everyone else doesn't speed, so we're all safer. You know what I mean. Now, before we go off and we split you up into groups, and we have a logical way of doing it, I would like to show you one chart which I found particularly useful. And this are again based on facts. If I could have a chart. Once you get the chart. I don't know which country this is. Switzerland.
Looks like Switzerland or any Alpine.
Okay.
Wow. So they ask you retire.
Retire in the mountains. Okay. Okay, I hope you can see this. I think it's important. I personally think it's an important chart. Let me explain what this is. This is actually the Singapore national budget. Let me explain how it works. If you go to financial year 2012, right? Financial year, let's run down. Operating revenue, that means the government's revenue, what the government collects, revenue. This is from taxes, COE, property tax, whatever. That is $55.81 billion, right? In 2012. Expenditure and special transfers, this is what the government spends, and then this is the transfer, your transfers to your CPF account, the government spend on education, housing, whatever. Everything the government spends is 57.86. Now, what's there? Even in year 2012, you'll see that the government spends $2 billion more than it collects. $2 billion more than it collects. Where is the balance coming from? And that's our next figure, which is the net investment returns contribution, $7.87 billion. The net investment returns contribution is the investments we get from our reserves. Some years back, we amended our constitution to allow the current government to allow, to take the investment returns from the reserve. And I think a few years ago, they amended it to allow you to take up to 50% of the investment. So roughly, if whatever the government can invest in the reserves, whatever is the returns from those reserves, the current government can take 50% of that for its own current expenditure. The other 50% goes back to the reserves for future generation, right? So in a way, we are actually drawing from our reserves as well. Not the principal, but the interest, 50% of the interest, if you look at it. So that's 7.87 billion. And that makes up for the deficit of 2 billion, and therefore gives you the overall surplus of 5.82 billion, right? So in other words, because we are taking the interest from the reserves, we are plus for year 2012. What happens to the plus? So the current government has a number of options. The current government can put it all back in the reserves, or the current government can decide to spend it again by way of saying, again, CPF top-ups or share, you know what we do, the ERS and so on and so forth when we do it, right? The government can do that. So it's 5.82 billion. Now, 2013 is revised because we recently closed that. So this is revised. So the operating revenue, again, 57 billion, so the economy did better. So the government collected more taxes and so on, GST, whatever. 57 billion, so 2 billion more. But you look at expenditure now. Expenditure has gone up 61 billion. So government is spending more money now, again on public issues, on public things. But the returns on investment, 50%, is about still there, 7.9 billion. That gives us an overall surplus of 3.92 billion, right? But now look at 2014. And this is only budgeted because we haven't finished 2014 yet. The actual figures will be known next year. Our revenue, again, has gone up about 2 billion odd. Again, the economy doing better, 59 billion. But look at spending now, up to 68 billion. So we are spending more and more every year, right? You can't run away from this fact. This is actual. Spending more and more every year, and this will include your Pioneer Generation Package and so on and so forth. All the spending that comes in. Investment contribution, again, all this is budgeted and estimated, not actual yet, but it's up to about 8.1 billion. But for the first time, we are going to have a negative. In other words, even with the interest we are drawing, 50% interest, we are going to have a deficit of 1.1 billion. Maybe it will be 1.1, maybe it could be worse or could be better. We don't know because these are only budgeted figures. If the economy does poorer, then revenue is less, then it's likely to be a larger deficit. If the economy improves, then maybe it will be a surplus. We don't know. But this is what is budgeted now. Now the reason why I thought this would be useful, and these are all actual figures, you can get it. The reason why I thought it would be useful to show you this is because when you say, and when anyone says, look, why can't the government pay more? Or why can't the government pay 1% more, 2% more, and all that? You have to ask yourself, where does the money come from? Because it has to come from one of these. It has to come from one of these. There is no special fund somewhere else where the government draws money from. It either comes from the money the government collects as revenue, or it comes from the money the government gets from its investment returns. There is no other fund. And so, which is why I talk about balancing interests and talking about trade-offs. If you say the government should pay more money to one group of people, you also have to say what you're willing to give up. We are already going to be likely to be in a deficit in 2014. As I said, we don't know it's budgeted. But there is no other fund that we're talking about. And I thought these numbers are useful to give you some perspective on what the budget or the fiscal realities are that we are dealing with. There is no unlimited money. Money is always limited. And so your argument could be, and maybe one of the things you raise is, why not draw 75% from investment reserves, from the returns? That's a perfectly valid argument. But all it means is that you're putting less money back into reserves, which means the future generation has less to work with. It's a perfectly valid point of view. But as I said, when you do one thing, it means it affects something else. And I want us to be honest to recognize that. As I said, there's no right or wrong, but let's just recognize the trade-offs. Otherwise, it's not an honest conversation. Okay? Okay. So are we all okay with this? no right or wrong answers, but I think we can try and get something. Yeah.
Can I ask a question on expenditure?
Yeah.
Expenditure is more than revenue. Does that expenditure include the salary that we pay to the minister, prime minister, and the president?
Okay. You can, as I said, we're not here to politicize debates, but let me deal with the issue. Okay? If you want to pay our ministers zero, that's fine. It's not going to make any difference to the numbers. Okay? Alright, so, yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing. Even if you pay everyone zero, the numbers won't change. Why? Because the annual budget, so we are talking about in the M's, not the B's. Okay? So let's be sensible about these things. One last question and we'll break up.
Mr. Kumar, I'd like to ask, I mean, that's not really an accurate presentation of spending because it includes special transfers. For instance, in 2014, you're putting the whole of the Pioneer Generation package of 8 billion into current spending, which is not an accurate reflection because actually you're only spending, I think, about $250 million this year. And so every year I notice the finance minister transfers basically the whole of the net investment returns contribution into new long-term funds. So it's not actual spending on the people. It's actually just putting it back into the reserves. So it's, you know, I called it smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
And then, you know, the net investment returns contribution, where you say you're spending 50% of the returns on the reserves. The actual figure for the surplus, I think in 2012, was about $30 billion. So, you know, the government is making much, much more than 50%.
You can publish your own figures on your website.
Well, the problem is we can't get the figures from the government.
Well, you have these figures here, so you can use these.
But, yeah, I know, but
These
you won't give us the figures. All right.
You can ask a question. You can ask your friends to ask questions.
All right.
And questions
All right.
to answer. These are
Thank
figures.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to deal with reality here. And I hope we all will do that as well and not make things up. But, so let's have a proper conversation. Right? So, now this is how we do it. Again, I'm not doing it any differently from what we do. But I think we found that in previous dialogues that if we group people together of like mind or like interests, then we're not really going to get anywhere. There has to be some tension within the group. Otherwise, we won't really have a proper discussion. Now, where CPF is concerned, the tension, I think, will really be amongst the different age groups. What do retirees want? What do younger professionals want? What do students want? What do people with kids want? I mean, those are where the tensions are likely to be. For COEs, the tensions are different. For budgets, the tensions are different, and so on and so forth. So what we propose to do is to break up everyone into groups, and each group will be represented, or will have different people in different age groups there. Now, this will involve some moving around of people, so I hope you don't mind. We always do this, and we find that it can be done quite efficiently. Today, we also have a group which is normally not represented, which is normally not here, which is the non-resident group. For some reason, how many of you are non-residents? Okay, great. So as I said in my blog, in my Facebook, this was a dialogue for residents. Non-residents are here, you're welcome. Welcome to Thomson Topayo. I hope the coffee is good. But because this is a resident dialogue, I'm going to put all the non-residents in one separate group, if you don't mind. Okay? So this is how we're going to do it. We have the different groups.